So I had the idea of creating a game outside my comfort zone, and that's what I've been doing for the past month. It started when I decided to step away from live service games. Games like Brawlhalla and Destiny 2. That's when I delved into more story games. Once I started playing more story games, I understood that I was missing something. What I missed was the immersion inside of a full new world. And that's what the feeling was that I cherished. It gave me a way to not stress about the world and to just focus on living in the present. For my game idea, I didn't want it to be about making a profit. So one of my old high school friends, he knows who he is. He wanted to make an alien isolation type version game. And then the problem about it was when we were conversating, actually, he only could focus on the money aspect of the game. He didn't ask how was the game function, what kind of games he played, or anything about that. His only focus was the money, which I did not with. I personally did not with that because we are creators and we should create a game that we want to play and that everyone else should play. That's what brings in the money. That's what brings in our skill set. What I want to focus on with my game is how the player interacts with 2D and 3D space to their advantage. My first idea was a Call of Duty and Mario mix, where the player would have to defend themselves from enemies, and if they needed to use items or whatnot, they would have to go into the UI interface to use the items. While I was thinking about this game loop, I realized that the scope was too big for my current ability. So when I decided to shorten it, I changed it up and turned it into mini games instead. I got the inspiration for mini games from a game called Angel Engine. This was originally a beta game I played until it released. I fully completed and perfected the game, and with my enjoyment for the genre, the horror genre, absolutely, I was inspired to make a game loop based off of that. When I began to think about the game, I decided I want to go with the framework. I couldn't decide on which one, so I had to think about it. Did I want to do Unity and Godot because they had all the utilities, the practices, and tutorials, or did I want to start from scratch with GLFW, SDL, and other renderers? So I ended up deciding to go with Raylib. Raylib gives me a steep learning curve into the game development industry. I'm not learning a full game engine, or I'm not creating any other deep aspects of it. What I'm getting out of it is a framework I can start, create my own game from, and have a full control. I can have full control over what I develop about the game. That is the learning curve I want. Learning such a deep type of development will let me see all of the graphics, all of the lore, music, and especially the systems and how they are created. So first, I needed to learn. And since I had not worked in that programming language before, outside of making a code generator for Brawlhalla, and maybe other attempts at creating a game engine, I started to learn a few basic tutorials on YouTube. But what got me into Raylib was a Udemy course by Low Level Game Dev. That course showed me a full process of making a game, a Terraria clone specifically that you can see on my channel. And after I learned this course, it gave me the opportunity to learn the Raylib framework. It gave me C++ shortcuts and ways to use the program language in a much faster, more optimized way. Plus, the whole course was built to where I can see a full process development of creating a game, from going from the inside out and managing to make regular functions work before you refactor them into bigger, more dynamic functions. I spent around 2 months in the whole course, and honestly, it was one of the best times I've had in programming, giving me a way to relive it. Now, one important factor with game development, and especially being solo, is that I need to fix my mindset. I needed a way to change to that way I can enjoy creating the game, and that's what I spent doing. I wanted my game to be more of an impulsive creation. I didn't want to go through tutorial hell again. I spent around a month of Unity learning how to create Elden Ring by a tutorial, and it honestly destroyed my mind. I had no space of learning my own mechanics and understanding where I can actually implement them without having to watch the tutorial and create someone else's game. After going through about 50, 30-minute videos and learning how the game worked, I just stopped. I had to change my approach. I began to do my own research about the problems I caused. Then I found the solutions to help me. I used Copilot, Claude, and especially reading documentation. Another great source were Discord channels. They've also been a great help going into the Raylib channels, the low-level game dev, and even other servers to help me get specific bugs and find ways that I wasn't testing my code correctly. Now, I feel like the biggest step for me was honestly planning. This has been the biggest game changer to my everyday life. I had to use other apps to check and update my process. Beforehand, I would just write the code and then write my steps into a plain text document. And then that wasn't efficient enough because I could always erase it, change it, and it wouldn't be consistent. So I started using Trello to keep track of my bugs, deadlines, and ideas I had. Then with the game files, I would specifically put anything I changed down into the changelog before I commit them to GitHub every day. This became a major change to my workflow because every time I commit a new change into GitHub with the changes, I know exactly what happened, what I did, and I can just present that to myself later on and understand what I did beforehand, what values had changed, and what could have either gave me a better idea or just caused me issues in the future. I've also spent my time playing more alpha beta games in the process. As I mentioned before, games as Alpha Engine, Super Crush Alpha, and Blast Judgment because they gave me ideas on how I want my game to function and feel. So for the last month, this is the progress I've made so far. I created the scene manager, I've created the renderer for the 3D and 2D space, and I've created the basic character function. I've already learned a lot from this because I've had to adapt my learnings into a 3D space, model it, and create the physics behind it and the game objects. I've had to create a dynamic way to update both the 2D and 3D space inside of the scenes. And whenever I now try to implement more features and mini games, I found different issues and bugs I have to fix myself. And this has honestly been a lot of fun for me. I'd like to thank you all for watching and listening to me rant about my own project. And I hope to catch you soon. Peace, love y'all, and please give me your opinions.